In this episode, we're going to be speaking about a topic that I feel probably enters everyone's hearts or lives at some point in their lives, whether they are on the receiving end of it or they're the ones that are actually doing it to other people, and that is jealousy. Jealousy, envy. So just mentioning those two words straight up, what comes to mind? Sumayah, I'll start with you.
For me personally, like my experience, I think the idea of jealousy maybe in things that for like achievements, if I see someone who's ahead of me on the journey, I think, wow, like they've already done this and already done that, and it's kind of like I wish I was that far along. Like that's how it comes up if I'm the one who's feeling it. But I don't take it beyond that. It's like it's a thought. It's like, wow, gosh, it just, but then after that, it doesn't.
So is that jealousy then? Because it seems like quite a positive feeling that you're inspired, you wish to aspire to greater things.
I think it speaks to a sense of inadequacy in the moment. You think, oh, I want to be farther along than where I am. So it's like I haven't done enough. I'm not as far as I should be, kind of thing. But maybe it's not. I don't know.
Interesting. So if it was to move beyond that, that's when it would become jealousy?
Yeah, I think if I was to say jealousy is more like, I like the kids example. Like one of the things we talk about, obviously, with teaching Quran comes up, and all of us want our kids to memorize Quran, and all of us want our kids to be far along, and it's very viciously competitive in this kind of, not in an open way, but silently. We're tracking everyone else compared to our kids. Their kids are about the same age as mine. Oh, how far along are they? Like it's very like I can feel there's a tension there.
SubhanAllah, yeah. It's interesting that you should say that, because I when my daughter, my eldest, was memorizing the Quran, there was a group of us and we had a group, and some of the sisters would not share and disclose where their child was at with where their child was at with their hifz. No, it was you don't go there because of fear of evil eye and fear of jealousy. It was really interesting to observe how the mothers were so kind of overly protective of like no disclosure in regards to that. What about you, LaYinka?
I mean, jealousy is real, and it's sad. It's one thing to kind of feel like, oh, I'm not there, but to actually have something in your heart that I'm not there and neither should they, that is something else. To be in a space where you're just like, they shouldn't have that, and you feel bad about yourself and you feel bad about what they have. And it's so common among sisters that a sister is excelling in her business, in her studies, in her whatever it is that she might be doing, and there'll be those snide remarks. How are your children suffering as a result of that? And how are you managing to this? And all those just sneaky remarks that are thrown in to try to make her feel inadequate about what she's doing. Like, you must be dropping the ball somewhere. Like, you can't have it all. And who do you think you are to have? Because you've got issues with yourself. You don't need to now like start projecting it on other people. But that's actually, it comes with deep dissatisfaction within oneself, and then projecting that onto another person, and it's so sad,
right? And the that can move towards an extreme where not only are they jealous of what someone has and that they don't want that person to have it, but then they want that person to have something bad instead.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably come to that later on in the episode, what that can lead to, and the ill that really leads to for some people. Interesting that you say, it's when someone is dissatisfied within themselves that they experience that, because the flip side is, if you love yourself, then you project that love onto other people and you want other people to have good. So if we think about the root of jealousy, it's all your mess. It's all your own mess. It's all internal, right? Do you think that it's simply a case of someone having what you can't yet have? Do you think it's a case of being dissatisfied with your qadr? Or do you think it's deeper than that?
I think there are levels to it.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, there is dissatisfaction with your lot, with the cards you've been dealt. And sometimes it is just, if I can't have that, they can't.
I think also there's an element of where people are copping out. It's the exceptional myth. So you only have that because your circumstances are perfect. I'm sure you have a bunch of family support and a nanny and a bunch of money and so that's why you're able to do that. But normal people like me wouldn't be able to do it. So I shouldn't, you're an exception and it's not normal. And somebody like me should never try because average people don't get that.
So what happens then when the person realizes that they don't have the nanny, they don't have tons of money, but they're still able to achieve that thing? What does the person, is that when the jealousy really kicks in, that actually that person is exactly like me, is struggling just as me, but they're still able to achieve that?
I think if they, like, depending on the person who's looking at you, or where they are in themselves, because I have also gotten, like you said, the remarks, like, oh, you should really concentrate on your family and I'm sure your children need you. And I'm thinking, like, why are you in my house? Like, seriously? No, really, because I'm teaching a class, or because I'm here and because I'm there, you've created this whole story that you've already convinced yourself is true, and to the extent that you would type and send me a message about it. It's just so out of line. Like so yeah, people are so far gone in their stuff that is how it comes out. But because I think to myself, even if I felt this way about someone, what would it take for me to send them a message and type it?
This is it.
That's so far.
Because it's one thing to feel,
which is natural,
and to think something.
Jealousy is a natural feeling.
Right.
It's natural.
Right. And I always say that, like, you can honor how you feel, name it.
Yeah.
And then decide, are you going to live in that? Are you going to stay that? Are you going to keep choosing that?
Are you going to act upon it?
And you're going to, now that's a different level. That's next level.
Yeah.
Like, to feel so dissatisfied with what you're doing, that I now have to get my phone out, like just thinking of all the things. Go to where my phone is.
Spell check it. Have to write you a letter.
And then hit send.
Yeah.
And then probably have something to say based on what you say.
Yeah.
You know what scares me even more is that a person can be jealous and may not send the letter, may not say anything, may not send a message, but you know what? They're following you and they're looking at you and they're observing you from afar, and they have
That's actually scarier.
It is, and they have this kind of hatred that you have A, B, C, or that you've done X, Y, Z.
And then comes the ayn.
And then comes the ayn, and then comes the matters of the unseen world and the affliction.
Yeah.
And this is something that, I feel like this topic of unseen affliction is out there in terms of, people have experienced it, they speak about it. It's almost like it's a topic where people just say, okay, just go and get ruqya, just go and get ruqya. You have the two sides. You have people that are quick to place their current situation in the world of the unseen, and this is what I'm being afflicted by, and they're very, very quick to say that.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have the other side where people are being afflicted by ayn, by sihr, by jinn possession, and they are suffering, and they're suffering alone, because unless you're tested with that test, you will never understand the depths and the gravity of the internal turmoil to your soul unless you've been through it yourself. So we have kind of both sides. So we're talking about jealousy, we're talking about the natural feeling, we're talking about taking it further, acting on it, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're also speaking about not only not wanting that person to have it, but then also them wanting something bad for you, and the affliction side. And how some people use that as an excuse, and how some people are really, really struggling in that area, but there isn't much conversation or help apart from just go and get ruqya. And just go and get ruqya is actually a speck or a drop in the ocean of what that person needs as they're battling their affliction. So it's a vast topic.
Yeah.
It's a vast topic, and it's one that I don't feel. I think we only talk about it in terms of it's a disease of the heart. Don't have it as a Muslim. Yeah, don't have it. If you're afflicted by it, go and get ruqyah. That's all we've spoken. That's all we've said about it.
Yeah, but we haven't really, it's one of those topics that you really do need to peel away the layers, and get to the essence of it. Like, if we got to the essence of your deep dissatisfaction with yourself, within yourself, how many people could actually heal and get to a point where they can actually see someone doing great things and be okay with it? Maybe they'll have a flicker of something that will pass, and they can actually appreciate someone else's achievements and what they're doing, and also go for things themselves.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, like hating on someone and then still choosing to
Do nothing.
like,
That's like double whammy of self-loathing and self-destruction, isn't it?
And that's the reality of what happens, right? You'll see, oh, you shouldn't, your children are suffering, blah, blah, blah. But then you aren't doing anything, and you're just projecting that. And suddenly it's Sumayah who's got an issue, and she's this, and her children are suffering. But wait, what about your household? What's going on there? What's going on inside you? And are you addressing that?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's fear to address what all of that is. But it's so important, because unless you do that, you can't move forward and pass the jealousy. You can't. And you'll continue to project it.
Where do you think the balance is with the fear of sharing your blessings versus, so, if I play full out and I'm successful and I'm just open with where I am, for fear of bringing on evil eye or offending or hurting or making people feel like, I'm rubbing it in their face.
Such a good question.
Where's the line? I think that's something that anyone in the public sphere kind of is constantly weighing up. Like, is there wisdom? Is there benefit?
I think it's such an important question. For me personally, Allah loves to see us use His blessings. Right? We know that. So we know that Allah loves to see us display our blessings, to use our blessings, right? And then there's the whole, like what you just said, striking the balance of not kind of rubbing it in people's faces and not becoming arrogant. And I think it boils down to one thing personally, that we always remind ourselves first and foremost, and then other people, that nothing is possible except by Allah's permission. That whatever I have achieved, whatever I have succeeded at, whatever I have, it's from
not
Him.
Me anyway.
It's all from Him.
Yeah.
And it's to remind, so if we do share our blessings, if we do share our successes and our achievements, it's always attributing it back to Ar-Razaq, the one who provided, the one who guided, the one who gave. Because without Him, we wouldn't be where we are. And it's encouraging people that, you know what? Actually, so I have achieved this because of Him, and you can do that too. It's possible for you too, right?
Yeah. I mean, do you know when I see someone killing it? When I see someone killing it, I am like, yes, that's it. They say it. That's it. Because if they can do it, I can do it too. I love that NLP.
From them.
That NLP presupposition. If it's possible in the world, it's possible for me too.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go and find out the how, because, hey, if they are like doing their thing and they are, whatever it may be, even if it comes down to someone's character, they've embodied, like, wow, they can be like that in the face of that. Right. I know I can do that too. It's just a matter of how.
But that's because you're in a position now, you're in a position where you're so, you've gone through your own journey, and you're so in tune with yourself that you're able to identify, you're able to say, you know what?
It wasn't me.
And that's gonna, that's possible
It is
for
a
her, it's
journey.
possible for me. But if you were not in a good place within yourself, LaYinka, would you be able to say that? So it kind of
I get that actually. Like I say it from a privileged position, having come through so much.
I wouldn't use the word privileged.
No, privileged.
Maybe balanced, wholesome, healed.
Possibly, but I'm saying privileged in that I'm not in the mess that someone might be in. So, you know, when you're in the mess, the view looks very different from when you're outside of it.
True.
Right?
True.
And so I can say that I probably do come from that position, and kind of reframing it when I was down, anytime that I could be down, because, you know, tests come.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not to say that, hey, life's good. What would I then be saying to myself at that point? And it is important for us, those of us who are in good places, actually, you know, as we've said in previous episodes, like compassion, to really look from that space of what would I be truly, not from my privileged position of being out of it, but in that space when things are hard, when I'm seeing other people succeeding
and I'm just
struggling, where would I really be? And that's why it's important to really get into the other people's shoes.
Yeah.
To step into their shoes and to really view life from their lens, and to step out of ourselves and see it, because the view is very, very different.
Even just to go back to your own life and your own experiences, and to remind yourself when you were struggling and you saw people flying, you know, where you were at, and to understand jealousy from that level. And as you were speaking and you're saying, you know, place yourself in someone else's shoes, I took myself back to times where I was really just barely like getting through the day, and I could see people achieving and setting up things and thriving. And I experienced jealousy. But then that makes me, now in hindsight, that makes me realize that the reason why I experienced jealousy is because I wasn't content within myself. When you're in a good place within yourself, then you perpetuate that externally, right? You find it externally, you project it externally, you're happy for people, you see it, you find it, you actually see it. But when you're in a bad place, all you can see
is darkness.
Right? And when you see a light, when you see a person that embodies light, man, that's too bright. Was that just poetry there?
Listen, Lisa Nichols say, don't dim your light because people can't hack it.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, when we think about jealousy, it does go back to where you are at. So we're speaking about us, you know, we're talking about ourselves being jealous.
Yeah.
What about when we're on the receiving end?
I think one of the things that is important to note is that a lot of people don't actually know the symptoms of affliction of the unseen. So I just know that I feel sleepy, I feel worn down, I feel these changes, but I probably assume it's something physical. Like they wouldn't even recognize it. Probably a lot of people are experiencing it and they don't even know what it is. And also, just like you said, some people just call everything, you know, possession, and it's for nothing. They just call it that. Others will say it doesn't exist at all. Like they'll say, like, I don't believe in that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's the whole range. But when a person is on that receiving end, it's true, we never even hear about it.
Yeah, I think it's important in regards to, because it's the unseen, because it's not tangible. We struggle to really empathize with those that are going through it.
Yeah.
And we're quick to fob them off as, you know, being mentally ill, but, you know, when it is actually an affliction, there are clear symptoms. And the first apparent one is that the person changes. Like there's a clear change to their personality or, you know, their physical condition. Yeah, like it's like almost like overnight, or it happens gradually but very, very quickly. And you know, never, and I would say this to the viewers, never knock someone who is on the receiving end of an unseen affliction, because more than likely, and I have seen this time and time again, you may be tested with it just to understand it. Right? And I have seen this countless times where, you know, a sister is struggling because she is a victim of an unseen affliction. And I personally believe that it is very, very real. I believe that it can destroy a person. And it is one of the most difficult tests that a person can encounter in their life. And it can happen to anyone. It can happen to the rich, the poor, the educated, the uneducated, the married, the divorced. It can happen to anyone, right? And there needs to be more discussion around this. There needs to be greater understanding. There needs to be a lot more support, because those that are experiencing it or have experienced it are really living a life where they're just in darkness. And it is something that, you can't take a pill. You can't just speak to someone and feel, go to a counselor and feel better about it. It is something that is so intense and so severe that it's only Allah Azza wa Jal that can grant you shifa, right? And so what does it require? It requires faith, it requires dua, it requires consistency in your own kind of treatment. And the reason why that's so difficult is because 90% of the time, the affliction is trying to stop all of those things. It's trying to make you confused about your state. It's trying to make you confused about your belief. It's draining your emotional energy. You're not as focused. It's trying to do everything to stop you from going to the cure, which is dua and Quran, essentially. So, when you find a person who has been, kind of diagnosed with the unseen affliction, or is displaying very, very clear symptoms. We're not talking about wishy-washy. We're not sure here. We're talking about clear symptoms. You may not understand it unless you've been through it. But you know what? Be there for that person.
Yeah. Be
there for that person, because it's a dark world. It's a dark world. And I don't want to say too much about it now, but I speak from experience. It's not something that I've shared with people. As you know, I'm writing a book, so I will touch upon that. I will touch upon that in the book, but it's something that I've experienced with a few loved ones. And I won't say much more than that, but I do believe that we need more conversation around this, because we brush it under the carpet because it's not diagnosed by a GP, by a doctor. It's not something that's physically
And sometimes
evident.
It's not even that. Sometimes it's, if we talk about it, then I might get it too.
Yeah, there is a fear.
There is a fear.
There is a
that
fear.
If we talk about it, if we have to talk about ayn and hasad and sihr and whatever else, then you might bring that into my home.
Like it's contagious.
Yeah.
So, and I must say, I had that. There was a very, very good friend of mine who was afflicted. And subhanAllah, I was the type of person that I didn't want to read anything about sihr, jinn. That's not my thing. I don't go there. You want to send me a video? I'm not going to watch it. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Yeah. Okay. It's a part of our deen, but I don't want to know about it. Okay. And subhanAllah, there were times where I didn't really believe her, and I didn't want her to talk to me about it, even though she needed the support, because I was scared. I was absolutely terrified that it was going to come to me.
Yeah.
Right? But it doesn't work like that. This ignorance. Is a test. If Allah Azza wa Jal is going to test you with a loss of a loved one, with a loss of wealth, with sihr, with ayn, you're going to be tested with that. It's not going to become because someone else is being tested with it. But what I do notice is there's a pattern of, if you judge someone, right?
Yeah,
if you judge someone by the test that Allah has given to them, what I have seen is that, you know what? You're going to be knocked with it. You're going to be tested with it until you learn humility, right? Until you learn not to judge that person with what their Lord has brought them to raise their rank and strengthen their faith. So, gosh, I feel like this needs a part 2. I feel like we need to go in, in more depth about this. Thoughts about, you'll find a kind of thoughts about jealousy, either from the perspective of the one that's perpetrating it or the one that's on the receiving end.
I think for someone who's across the board, I do believe that we all need to check ourselves and to check where we are within ourselves. And yes, for the sake of not being jealous, but just to actually go on a journey to work on ourselves. That we're always inconsistent need of working on ourselves, and to just say, okay, this is the thing, you know, I've got this particular issue, and name it, and do something about it. And so that you can move forward, and then you're not projecting that and causing harm, conscious or unconscious, to anyone around you.
And yourself. Because you know what? By being the one that's jealous, you're actually creating more harm to yourself. Right? That level of dissatisfaction just continues to get deeper and deeper until you just hate life and hate whatever you're being given. And it's just self-destructive, right? Sumayah?
I think for the person who's at a stage where things aren't moving for them, because I remember times when I was, just be kind to yourself. And know that, you know, life is stages and phases. Right now you're stuck and busy with baby or whatever it is. When the time for you to move will come, you will move. So don't be so hard on yourself. And just one note on ruqyas and raqis and, you know, everything when it comes to the healing, these matters of the affliction, they have to do with the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and using the Quran. If you are ever asked to hide things in your house or do anything that is dodgy or seems unseemly to you, consult and find out before participating in anything like that.
I think for me, my final words on this, I'd like to address those that are currently going through an affliction. You're in a dark world. You feel like no one understands. There are days where you probably don't even understand yourself. You question your sanity. You question whether this is real, this is actually happening to you, despite the evident signs and the evident symptoms that you're battling with every day. And I want to tell these sisters that are going through this that there is a shifa, there is a cure for absolutely everything. And this is one of the greatest tests, and we know that this is a test that the Prophet ﷺ himself was given. And I believe, and if I'm wrong, may Allah forgive me, that Aisha, it may be someone else, so please forgive me if I'm wrong, said that she never saw the Prophet ﷺ make more dua than at that time when he was afflicted. So I want to tell these sisters that, yeah, your world is dark. Yes, you feel like your soul is being ripped apart. Yes, you feel like it's never ending and it's gone on for years, and you keep trying, you keep reciting Quran, you keep making dua. Keep going and surround yourself with people that have been there and have gone through this journey and have come out of it. That will be your source of hope. But keep going, because there will be an end to this. And Allah, just as Allah gave this test to the Prophet ﷺ, He has given you this test because it's the one test where you have no other option but to turn to Him, because He is the only one that can resolve it for you. There isn't a tablet you can take. There isn't someone that you can speak to, a therapist that you can go to that will make you feel better, that will, resolve an unresolved situation. This is this is like you going to the doctor of doctors. And so if Allah has given you this test, it's because, I swear by Allah, He loves you. He loves you, and He wants you to have such a close bond with Him. And it's this type of test that basically sets you upon that path to Him. So just keep going, and may Allah grant you shifa. Ameen. Okay, so sisters, we have covered this topic. Sisters and brothers, actually, we've covered this topic. It may have triggered some experiences for you. Please do share your thoughts and comments in the comments box, inshallah, and we look forward to seeing you again over at the next episode.
There are certain kind of people who are doers and action takers and jumpers who, when they get an idea, can just dive for it.
It's like a lesson of life.
Or they struggle to enact on it because they've decided that it's too difficult.
We think, okay, those kind of people have privilege and they can afford to do this.
We can continue talking, we can continue speaking, we can continue discussing.
It's like what it takes to be here to film HTT.
There comes a point where action has to take place.
But when it's just you and Allah, you've got a direct line.
Believe in yourself and believe in Allah. And when you marry those two, absolutely anything is possible.